Welcome to the Vincier Project, an H-hour production where we help people become more skilled, more competent, and more brave when they're facing the most difficult circumstances of their life. I hope you enjoy our podcast. Vincier Project is back doing what we do. Now we just have some panels that are standing there behind me, which is kind of embarrassing because they've been sitting there a little bit of a while. I don't know, 3 weeks. Sure enough, Mary, I don't know if I mentioned this last podcast. She came in and was like, hey, that color doesn't match. Like, okay. Great. And it went from being like a little project where I'm going to hang up these things that are now just stacked there to now it's like we're getting a complete overhaul. And it went from being a cost effective to now it's going to turn into a process. We'll see. We'll see what happens with that. But she's trying to make it better, and I understand her perspective, and I'm going to listen to her. Just it's going to my credit card gets to feel that. Yeah, my credit card. Man, I had a whole laundry list of things I wanted to talk about last week after the last podcast because I don't feel like it was that good. And I was like, hey, like I got to streamline some topics. I have a ton of topics for the blog and for this, and it's just not getting done at the rate of effectiveness or efficiency for that matter, like that I would like. And I have to systematize it. I got to think about it. I'm gonna wait a week though. Got my birthday. I'm gonna be old. Getting old now, and starting to contemplate like what does it mean to be old? Just accepting all that stuff. But maybe I'm young. Maybe I'm young too. It depends on who you ask and the story you tell. So, but competitive forces, right? Time is undefeated, right? And that is that saying goes for everything, right? Whether it is business, sports, life in general, right? Time always wins. It has a way of humbling all of us, I guess, right? Like I think that's you live long enough, go through enough, eventually you're gonna get humbled. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's a good experience. So we learn how we grow, how we become, how we evolve, how we change our mind about things. It's painful enough for us to change. Very few people like seek change or shift a life trajectory. There's like a purpose or a mission, meaning. People have that meaning, that worldview of their higher level needs and things like that. Like if they want to save the turtles or serve the country or whatever the heck, or innovate or design something. A lot of time it's just working on yourself, right? And I think there's a competition for all that. There's competitive forces. Competition with myself is probably the biggest one. That's the office and the panels behind me that's going to drive my OCD crazy. But I'm stubborn. I can grit that straight through this and then throw those things right in the trash and not care. And then my wife would ask, why did we buy them in the first place? And I'm like, I would have returned them to China, but he threw out the box. I don't know. Just upset about these panels. Driving me crazy. It's all good. Man, July is moving along well. We're cruising in. The business, and man, doing everything I said last week about the business, man, just making clients delighted, right? One at a time. Human services were like that. It's very individualized. It's very sensitive. Privacy and confidentiality are supreme in our business, no matter what, right? Like we're HIPAA compliant, what we do. And I think something that comes up, man, a lot for middle-aged folks that have children or in their own experiences, sports and all the stuff that comes with it, some of the pros and cons. I kind of made a list here. I looked at the internet. I think about the conversations I have. I definitely coach a few student athletes, have more or less along the way, speak with student athletes. Privilege, that's a blessing. I think I have a frame of reference that they can understand and connect with, even for an old guy. My wife asks, like, hey, do you think you're going to coach or do you want to coach or something? I'm like, yeah, but I'm too much of a control freak in that sense with that. Like I don't know. Like, I don't really want to coach somebody else's kids. It's just a lot of pressure. A lot of pressure comes with that and strain and stress. And you have to really, really want to volunteer. And I established a few weeks ago, I'm just not a good volunteer, right? But I'm definitely going to coach my son. That's for sure. So if he wants to do that, right, we're definitely going to do that. But the competitive forces of life, right, in business, we get them in our marriage and in our relationships with our children, with our parents, man, with our neighbors, with the community, with the friggin' tax man. Dude, you want to change your perspective on how you see the world, start paying taxes, right? But then really specifically, how about payroll taxes? You're like, hey, I'm providing value and including people and growing this process and talking all the smack about delighting customers and clients and partners and then yeah, payroll taxes. It's just wild. This is wild to me. But yeah, competitive forces, right? So sports specific stuff, right? Like and I think it's all competitive. Whether it's fitness and you're doing CrossFit or it's finance, right? Nobody gives away their money, not intentionally anyway. Or maybe intentionally, right? If somebody has an illness or disease or an addiction, right? Like our system is geared towards that. It's predatory in nature if you're not paying attention. I've been victim of that. We all have at some point, right? Well, that's okay too. But man, sports, and like I think something that comes up a lot of times is sports, specifically youth sports, trying to get college scholarships and like competing in the 24-hour news cycle and social media and rating systems. It's all a lot of pressure and it's all real pressure. And college scholarships are that valuable and can be that life changing. I think that it's worth competing for if that's a young person's thing. And then beyond that, it's like, do you play rec league or local or high school or travel? And those decisions come with a whole series of other decision points. And I think the question always becomes is like, are you having fun as a family, right? Or is the student athlete having fun? Right. Like that's a very, very subjective question. But I think that's the first question, right? Because I think for me, I look through the lens of having kids. It's like rec ball and local ball is always going to be better. Those are your best friends. You know, like, do you want to be competitive? You want to win? You want to learn some things? But like the assumption is that nobody's going to the league and whatever the thing is. And then, you want to play, you want to experience all those things with your buddies and friends and compete, train, and go across town or go to the next town or up the highway or play on the big game on Friday night or in front of your friends and family. And like, I mean, I had those experiences, especially playing ice hockey, right? Like those were great experiences, just gifted. You're aligned with a group of people and there's some luck involved in that. But like we definitely, you need good players. You need good players within the league or the framework you're in to be able to win, right? You need the horses to run the race, right? That's part of it too. And nobody wants to lose, right? Nobody wants to be on a team that goes 0-50 in a travel league. That stinks. Or not play on the AAA select perfect game, national, regional, intergalactic team, right? I think sometimes I use like there's been pro athletes locally through the Jersey Shore. It's a hotbed for some sports and every sport. But like the best player is always going to be the best player, and other people are going to let that player know that they're the best player. And that's my belief structure, is that if you're good enough, they'll always find you. I don't know. I apply that to business a little bit of a twist to that, but at that logic and mindset, if you're good, they'll find you. Doesn't mean don't have to seek those opportunities and chances, and that your zip code and your parents' socioeconomic status and stuff like that matter. But I think there's benefits from sports. I mean, like look, physical, mental health, right? I made a note of that. Man, emotional and social life skills, right? How to win, how to succeed and fail. And I played for brick high school, brick hockey, man. And I say for like from Pee Wee on, like I don't think we lost too often. I mean, maybe 20, 30 games. And that's like, we paid like 200 combined, our little cohort group. And I say that because the fundamentals and principles were there, and like of being a great teammate, never quitting, and always playing to win. And that started with the adults and the coaches and, how they treated things. And it wasn't fair. I don't think it was fair ever, right? Like the best players played, right? And then that's a very different time. It's not like that as much anymore. And then there's the academic behavioral benefits, right? Like you need to pass classes to be eligible to be able to play. The behavioral benefits. For me as a kid, man, dude, I had in school suspension, out of school suspension. I had Saturday school a few times at one point. I was fighting in the street and all sorts of weird stuff, man, behavioral stuff. Dude, they thought something was wrong with me when I got to Lakewood High School. I got to a public school. They put me in the special needs class for a little bit, dude. And like, I'm sitting there looking around and I'm like, oh man, like, and two of the dudes I know, right? I grew up with them playing like ball or whatever. Like, we're up to no good, totally up to no good. And they had the special ed kids in there, and I'm like, oh man, these people don't even, they just don't want to deal with whatever the thing is that you're presenting. And that left a taste in my mouth as far as like public school. It's wild. It's wild, right? And then you're so dumb and naive, or I was so dumb and naive, I should say. Like I didn't realize how like they're betting against me every step of the way. But it also turned me on because I got a gift and opportunity a year later when life got really complex and got to transfer high schools and go forward my life, man. It's such a gift. It's also when I knew I was going to be a Republican forever too, man. Important part of my story, and like those folks, right? And yeah, love those people. Love those. But yeah, sports open that door, because if I wasn't any good at a particular sport, then I wouldn't have been an opportunity to escape the particular situation I was in. So I understand that. I understand that quite a bit, right? And that created opportunities to go play in college, man, pretty high level, right? Like definitely some NHL coaches, people that made a living doing hockey in that world, right? So really, really competitive. But the downside, injury, burnout, right? I spoke to that before. Financial burden and reduced time. But I think the reduced time is the best part. Yeah, I think it's the best part. And my wife is, she's poking and prodding. She's like, "Hey, you gonna start hockey? Or what do you think? You want to get him on the ice?" I'm like, "Dude, he's still crapping himself, right? Like, I start skating at like 5, 6, as far as I'm concerned, right?" But I think, there's a luck involved in that. I think my dad, I'm grateful for that. He didn't have money for ice hockey and how we were living and we were doing, but he saw his sons loved it and kept them out of the street even further than going wherever they went to in the street. And I look at sports that way, man. I think that's what sports are a good thing in a hyper competitive world environment. And the best players are going to play and the best players are going to endure. And a lot of times I would say for high school athletes, it's just don't quit. Cause I can tell you that, like, I think from middle school to high school, there's a group of kids that quit. They already quit in seventh grade. They're just playing because mom and dad asked them to play through the end with that group core, and then he gets to high school. And I don't think sports are the end all. I think there's other ways to be competitive. I think that young dude that started a business at 14, 15, that young Warren Buffett that's knocking doors and cleaning trash cans and whatever service, right? Like, or going to the jobs with dad or their uncle or brother, like they're at a competitive advantage, like, because classroom sometimes isn't it, I think, right? I think we know that. And I'm not going to geek out on like, oh, plumbers and electricians are going to be the next millionaires like that. Yeah, they're already millionaires. I know for they crush, especially the guys that have good business minds, right? Like I learned from those dudes, man. Learn from them, right? Always want the customer delighted. Always want the customer delighted. Whether you're doing a $2 million transaction, $10 million deal, or it's a $2 widget, right? Lots of smiles, pleasantries, kindness, and then the levels of complexity are aligned with the reward or what it is. So no, I think sports are just the application. I think it's a good character development exercise. But for me, I mean, whatever little dude picks, like, just like my daughter, right? She's like, I want to try track. I want to try this. I want to try that. She did like flag football though. She wasn't all in on that. I would say it was the first time when she started CrossFitting a lot. I was like, oh, something happened on that field you didn't like. And that's a good thing, right? It's like, how are you going to respond or react to? I had good experiences with that. Get passed over, not getting the playing time, whatever. Then you have to make a decision. Like, what are you going to do? What are you willing to give up? No secret sauce, and I think that's the beautiful thing with competition in sports. Same thing with business, right? You're going to be a better teammate when you're with people you like. You're going to practice never quitting and always trying to win. So I think those three things are universal. And then all alternatives, when Mary's like, oh, are you going to coach it? I'm like, no way. I don't think so. But then also me, my alter ego is like, wow. HR could sponsor the club. We would call it the South Jersey Mastiffs. We'd get kids to drop out of middle school and just go to the HR Leadership Institute for 2-3 years, where they just do class for like 2 hours, but then they're in the gym or out in the field, going to iFly for science class. And we bring in Steve Spencer to guest lecture on science because he'll be retired by then, and then we could pay him. We have some PhD level folks to talk finance and business, bring some folks in from the private equity world, have scientists come in, reach out to Elon and be like, hey, this is what we're doing. And there'd be two-ish one, but I don't know, just a dreamer. But yeah, little dude's going to pick a sport. And then here's the thing. I would say this, right? For anybody still listening at this point, right? It's like, if there's a degree of physicality or risk in there, about middle school age and high school, it's a mandate to work out, lift weights, especially if there's collisions or there's going to be physical altercations. Putting a child out there where they can get seriously injured or hurt, and they're not promoting physical strength and capacity and power and speed and agility, endurance, and all of those things to transform and create more strength in their neural pathways and their physicality. I think that's a good way to set up somebody to have a sad face, because by the time kids are 18, 19 years old in a high school field, rink, court, they know what they're doing, and they're built like men in some cases. And even if they're not going to play in college or beyond that, like, they physically have the ability to collide or stun, hit, do things on a field. And I think it's competitive in nature, and you don't want somebody to get hurt. Yeah, I don't know. But I think compassion fatigue comes on before burnout. The give a crap meter, I think that's universal. I think that applies in counseling. I think it applies in business. I think it applies in families. It's not burnout. Like, nobody gets burnt out of their family. It's like the give a crap meter just gets lower and lower and lower if we allow that standard to continue to lower. And so, for my son, most likely he'll have, whatever junior varsity sport he plays. We'll make sure he's on the lower level team, so he never comes off the field, court, or ice, because it's all expensive. So we'll just play the lower level. Like, dude, you're never going to come off the field, you go low level, right? And then by the time we're 12, 13, 14, we introduce some weightlifting and double sessions and work out, mom in the morning, dad in the evening. Yeah, no big deal. Sprinkle creatine in a cereal. It's going to be awesome, man. Competition matters, man. Competition, right? Fair, not just. Or maybe it's the other way around. I don't know, whatever. But yeah, it's our job and responsibility to promote that stuff. It's important, but it can be found elsewhere. It's not limited to sports. And I think that's important. If somebody is an artist, they got to be competitive with that and do that, practice that. It's not competitive in the traditional sense. It's a competition within ourselves. Who do we want to compete against? Ourselves, right? We get good at that. And then the rules don't even matter at that point. The rules and laws are just made for the dumb people. Super fun. Cheers.